I'm Gentleman Josh Hill.
I'm Aaron Jeffrey.
I'm Johnson Jazz Busiest.
I'm Mike Malott.
I'm Raffian Stock.
Tune into the
Donttap
Donttap Podcast.
Donttap
Podcast.
John Jones.
Follow me on Twitter.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
To me, the Lions are the number one rankings out there. Those guys are the ones who really do their homework.
Man, that's why the rankings are bullshit.
From Canada.
Got a really high fight IQ.
But this fight, I'm telling you, it's a flip of a coin.
Levels to the shit.
So many high-level guys.
So, like, the line is crazy.
Oh, there we go. Oh, no, we're good. See, he's a pro.
Okay, Donttap Podcast. We are back. And I know last week we had proper MMA. The one thing that I'm going to be doing a promise to make sure that we always have two people bouncing off each other on the MMA on Donttap Podcast is really simple. I want to bring on some new people. I want to bring on some sharp people that I've been following for a couple of years now. And for me, I have no time right now for people that can't break down MMA. It actually is starting to annoy the shit out of me in MMA, Twitter, and everything else. So the fact that I have the MMA Line Mover, Jewish better on here right now, dude, it is a privilege to have you on, a pleasure, because not only are you sharp in MMA and can break down MMA, but you know lines. Like you're a sharp capper. You know how to really look at lines and break things down and see where the value lies. So I'm looking forward to having you on. Welcome to the Donttap Podcast.
Let's go. Coming off a crazy week, we had Jasmine Jazz Devicious with the Darce last. That on brand as could be there. So I liked it, and I like the shows that you're producing right now. I like all the content. I'm a fan myself, so I appreciate you having me on, bro. And hopefully we could assess some fights, find some value, and maybe make some people some money. That's the hope.
Yeah, man, for sure. I mean, last week, Canada came through, maybe a couple squeaks by the judges, some really smart game plans. You could tell that they didn't want to lose. They came in with some good strategy. Mike Malott getting shit on MMA Twitter for being a decision guy now. You were shitting on him for going for the finish in the third round when he ended up gassing himself out. Now he's playing a safe fight, and he wins a safe fight against a power puncher and one of the better boxers in the division. I don't know. But once again, you can tell I'm sort of leaning at MMA Twitter this week. But, man, I'm really happy to have you on. This is a card that a lot of people are looking at and sort of scratching their head. The lines are starting to get wide. They're starting to pick their spots. And knowing what you know, I want you to bring some spots to the table. And we have 3 rounds on the show. The first round, you can bring your best spot to the table. It can be a money line spot. It could be obviously a prop spot and or a 2-piece parlay. So bring your first spot to the table, MMA Line Mover.
Yeah, so for me, generally, like, my best space is the props. Like, that's where I have my best ROI. That's where I make my bread and butter. And what's been working for me lately, I was able to hit a couple sub props a couple weeks ago. I like to sometimes parlay them together, but in this spot, I'll just go straight up off the rip. I think Jillian Robertson's going to have a decent amount of success here. I know you're a Canadian, so you're probably rooting for her as well. And I'll tell you something, these last couple of camps where she had went to the goat shed, I think their philosophy is like, jiu-jitsu, yeah, it's cool, but like, why not? I'll just get you to the ground and start to beat you up. And we saw that a couple fights ago. I had cashed the plus, I believe it was plus 800 on Jillian Robertson by knockout versus Poliana Viana. She showed, that if you're not capable to keep up with her on the ground, which not many girls are, she doesn't have the best wrestling in the world, but she pulls half guard to get there. Sometimes she's very good at doing it. And once she gets on top, she's immediately advancing to the next position. There's no time wasted. It's very smooth. It's very collected. And then she's blending the ground and pound with the submissions, which I think is the next, it's the advancement of MMA on the ground, right? You're using your punches to set up your passes. You're using your punches to set up your subs. You're using your subs to set up your punches. And she really puts these girls in a loop. And more so for me, it's just the other side here, man. Luana Pinheiro, she doesn't have the cardio. It's something I'm looking to fade consistently. Yeah, so I like Jillian Robinson here. I don't think she, I like the ITD as well. I think she could get it done via sub or KO. I think she's going to try and beat her up, and it's possible that Luana just turns and she takes the neck. We saw her do that versus Rose Namajunas on the grappling scene, bro. So I think this is just a cardio play. She might get bonked the first round, but I think she's good enough to hold, take the damage, keep moving forward, and then once the fight gets to round 2-3, I think Pinheiro is going to really be gassed. And I like the 2-3 KO. I like the 2-3 sub, honestly. I like the straight up 2-3 here. So that's, I don't know if I'm allowed to tip 2 bets, but I like round 2 and round 3. And if we're going to get super spicy on FanDuel, I think the round
You can
2,
do whatever
3
you
KO.
want, bro.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the round 2, 3 KO. Let's get a little spicy here. It's plus 1,100. I think she's going to try and land elbows. We got the 12-6 now, so I think she's been posting literally all week. She wants to land some 12-6 elbows. My worry would be like she just wraps up the neck, but at the same time, I'm looking towards value. So I think, plus 550 on a women's MMA fight's pretty telling. I think they're saying that is a very high chance that she gets it done, and I don't think she gets it done in round 1 almost ever. It would be a miracle to me. So the way you're going to get that price up even more is to pair it with the rounds 2 and 3, and that's what I like this week, man. I think it's one of my more confident spots. I just think, I always say this to my dude Brasco, in the women's MMA fights, I'm going to take the better grappler like 9 times out of 10, and especially if they have the better cardio. So like she just can't get bonked here, which Pinero could do. I don't think Jillian's striking's that good. I think Pinero is powerful. I just think she's a gas bag, bro. So she's going to quit in rounds 2, 3. That's my play.
Yeah, you're right with Jillian's striking. It has gotten better and improved in her boxing, but she still sort of keeps her head on the center line and gets tagged. But that being said, man, I mean, she's got 9 sub wins. Pinero's got 5 sub losses. I always look at those, and that's sort of sometimes my base from where I start. To see how these girls will collide, I think you're fully right with how Robertson's game has come together, especially at Goat Shed. They're really attack heavy. And one thing, listen to her talk about her coach, Dean Thomas. They are actually opposite of what jiu-jitsu's rules are. It's not position before submission. They go for the submission, then get the position. So she can get on the neck. It's just he personally sees how she grabs the neck, personally sees how she grabs submissions. So he's adjusted it for her. So she's really aggressive, and that's why she's gotten so many subs. I just think this is definitely exactly what you said. A gassy spot. I'm going to hit the sub at plus 110. I know it's a little chalk for a sub, but I have a couple sub props that I hit religiously. One is Jillian Robertson. Unless the matchup really, really tells me different. The next, and I'll talk about it maybe a little bit later, it's not really a pick for me, was Gerald Mearshart. Even if the line is valuable on a Gerald Mearshart sub, I may look at it live instead of hitting the sub prop pre, because this guy actually is pretty good that's coming in to fight him. So we can talk about that one later possibly, but there is just some sub props where people just religiously go for the sub. When they get into that position, Jasmine becoming one of those people. I've called both the subs, hit it really hard on the last one. With this one, I was sort of worried about it staying on the feet a little bit longer, but man, some girls, when they get it to the ground, that's it. They're aggressive, and you got to bank on these girls. These are the girls you bet on. So I'll be going heavy on this, the sub plus 110. Then I'll be hitting the sub, or maybe just rounds 2 and 3, likely just leave it like that in case the KO does come, as you said. Because, I just think Jillian Robertson has her way. And you know what? If she loses in this fight by random craziness, like I'm going to bankroll smart on this card, be simple with my spots. And if I do lose, I'm okay with it. And we move on to the next card next week, and I'm not going to hurt because last week was fucking really good. So I'm right with you. That was actually my first spot as well, too. I think it's the most obvious spot, I think, where there's an advantageous situation. So Jillian Robertson, definitely the first play for Don't Tap for both of us.
Let's go. Dude, honestly, I just think it's more of a coin flip. Like, she might take the KO. She might take the sub. I just think this girl's so gassy, like, that after rounds 2 or 3, it's just going to be whatever Jillian wants to do to her. And at that point, like, for me personally, I'd rather just stick with the 2-3 or the ITD. For me personally, the way I played it was the 2-3.
No, I like it. You know what? Why you're right is because she could be on top, landing down some elbows, and Pinero's just so gassy. Not necessarily going to go out, but she just can't change her position. And then they're just going to pull her up, and I could definitely see it. So you're right. And that's why I think I would tell you on the idea of the 2-3 just straight, and then hit the sub prop by itself.
And they're shading those numbers crazy, bro. Like, they are very aware that it's a possibility. I even played the KO last time out versus Michelle Waterson, and realistically, she knocked her out. Like, it was a drudging. She absolutely murdered her. Never looked for a submission at any point. I think maybe this time out, she might look for that submission. So I think it's likely sub. But I just think when we're looking at value on the lines, like it's
look at Jasmine's last fight. Slick was talking about the KO prop against me calling the sub. And although, yeah, sure, the sub hits, but it could have easily been a KO prop at the end of that fight. She's landing down elbows and being vicious, and the ref could potentially jump in there at points. And the value was just too, like, you might be looking it up, but the value was just absolutely too crazy.
Should have hopped in versus Cachoeira, honestly. Let's be real. Like, that was a KO. Heck yeah, man.
We will move on to the next spot for you. I want you to bring your next spot to the table. I have a 2-piece parlay that's maybe a little bit chalky. People are going to call me whatever for it, but it's going to probably hit. But I'm going to let you bring one to the table. What's your second spot? What prop you got?
Yeah, so I love the women's MMA. I love my grappling spots, and this reminds me of a fight earlier this year in Eileen Perez versus Daria Zeleznikova, where Eileen Perez was shaded to get the knockout. People were thinking likely ground and pound. She also trains at Goat Shed, so I understand it. Like, historically, she's gotten more ground and pound off than submissions. So when she got the submission, a lot of people were shocked there. Like, it wasn't likely. People were more so saying, like, she's going to get on top and ground and pound her. Well, if you could get on top and ground and pound somebody, just like in the last fight, if you get on top and submit somebody, you ground and pound them. And if you get on top of somebody and ground and pound them, well, then you could submit them, especially if you're an IBJJF brown belt, recognized 2023 champion as well. In her bio, Melissa Mullins is who I'm talking about here. And everybody and their mother was lining up to bet the sub prop last time. Everybody and their mother wanted to fade Nora Coronoli by submission. This girl now, it's a lot of unknowns, man. Like, she's fighting in exhibition rules. She's fighting very low-level competition. And I just don't know where she's at, like, on the ground, on the mat. If Dixon or Mullins gets on top here, she's very scary. And there was a reason people were betting her by sub last time out. Yes, she historically has gone for the ground and pound. I don't think she's career gotten a sub. All of her wins in amateur even are by KO, TKO. So maybe she's getting on top of these girls and she's ground and pounding them. And I think she's vicious when she does get there. So this could be a possible major levels difference here. Like I said, I was looking at her Instagram. She's competing in grappling tournaments, winning by sub. She's working the arm triangle. She's working the rear naked choke from what I see. If she gets on top of this girl and this girl gives up her back, or it could even be an arm triangle, very similar to that Eileen Perez fight. So the KO opened, around plus 500, got hit on bet online. It's down to plus 350. Like, they're saying this girl has a massive grappling advantage then, or that she should just clip her on the feet. I don't really like Dixon on the feet, Mullins on the feet. I think she's super hittable. I don't think, the chalk is the way to go on this one, but I do think the under is a smart way to play it. Like, I want her, this is a prove it spot in my opinion to her, but she's going up against a girl that just, like, she could have a major amount of upside here. When we talk about, like I said, she has vicious ground and pound, but when we talk about women's bantamweight, historically, the rate on submissions for women's bantamweight, just look into it. It was 8% in 2018 to 2019. It went down to 7. Then it went in the next year to 11 and consistently up from there. 18, 20. And then this year it's 25%. 25% of women's bantamweight fights are ending via sub. So, I mean, small sample size, but clearly when it comes to, maybe it's the new gloves, maybe it's these things, but over the last few years, women's bantamweight's more so sub.
No. You're right, man. And you know what? I'm glad I've never heard somebody bring those numbers or try to bring numbers to me about that. I wondered if women's MMA fights have been finishing inside the distance a lot more. And it makes sense. And it's not about the gloves, dude. It's about the level of competition. The girls are more talented. And they're still now, they're bringing up some girls that maybe aren't at the level. And those girls are the ones definitely getting finished. This is sort of one of those potential situations. It's sort of bet with what you know. And one side, the other side you're sort of up in the air with and you're not quite sure. So it's either a stay off, or if you really feel like there's an angle and an advantageous situation, this is where you can make some money, right? So it seems like a sharp spot to me. And I'll probably tail that one too, man.
Yeah, I use my guy Nate Latshaw on Twitter, on X. If you look up him, he has some historical data regarding props, which I really, really like. And yeah, I'll be on Dixon by sub in this spot, Mullins by sub in this spot, plus 1,000 on DraftKings. You do some line shopping. I think, it's plus 750 on some sharper books. So, yeah, I love the grappling advantage here. I think, she gets on top, bounce back spot, finishes however she wants. So, give me the plus 1,000 way.
Now, you might actually sway my second spot, and that's okay if I rebuild it a little bit here, because you're giving me some stats that are making me think that maybe I don't want to look at that fight starts round 2. Even though it's minus 1,800 to start round 2, if it feels like there might not be value in that to parlay up, then I might have an issue with that, right? So I'll bring my next spot to the table. It's actually a fight to start round 2 parlay. So I got Magny and Prates, which a lot of people are going to be thinking is going to end inside the distance. I even looked at the over by the fight to start round 2 is minus 192. I might even put a little bit of money on that, because fight to start round 2 has been happening. I know Prates is a killer, but he sort of waits and plays with his food a little bit. And Magny's a guy, although he doesn't really wear punches with how he moves when he gets hit, he moves and he rolls with the punches. And, and he falls off the punches. And he's able to sort of absorb that damage and carry these fights late and get drag guys that throw big power into fights where they start to gas out. And, I think Prates wins this fight. but I just wanted to be able to get a piece of this fight somehow. I might hit the KO anyways, whatever else, but it may even just hit Magny live depending on what he does. But I just think that the fight starts round 2, parlayed, and I want you to help me change this if I need it. Mullins Segala to hit round 2, Prates Magny to hit round 2. It's minus 148. So, I mean, for me, that might be the one. I could sub it out for another one. What do you think about that one? Because the way you're talking, minus 800 might not be valuable.
It might not, bro. Honestly, in leaning the under in that fight, just because of the volatility of both women, we don't know much about this girl. And Dixon's literally just coming off a terrible KO loss to Nora Cornoli. So I don't trust her at chalk. I think it's likely that the fight starts to round 2, but is there value in it? I'm not sure. Prates, for me personally, I think the guy's very scary, but I think that may be why you're getting value on the line. For me, like, I don't know, dude, because I could literally see a world where he just smokes him in one, but I think it's unlikely. I think this, I'm giving Magny some credit here. And I think personally, man, minus 800 on a UFC main event to me just feels absolutely absurd. So if you're able to find value on that fight anywhere, man, kudos to you, because it's a great fight. I think Magny's a veteran, and yeah, like, I could totally see it. Prates plays with his food a little bit, right? You're not just going out there trying to take your head off round 1, but when he does get the chance, he's going to probably finish Magny. So that's my lean on the fight. I don't mind it, man. And the way I think about it is, at the end of the day, always trust your gut. Always trust your gut, because you're going to regret it at the end of the week if I say, that fight's not going to go, and it easily goes to round 2, right? That fight could very well be a 29-28 decision. So
the way I was looking at that one, and the way I sometimes look at some of these overs to see if there's even value singularly, is if I'm looking at a wide line and there's value on the dog, and a lot of people are making a case for the dog, and he's a guy who usually stretches it over, and he probably is going to get knocked out in round 2 or 3. But if he usually stretches it over, and like, even people are making a case that he might win a sketchy decision. There's a lot of shit out there. And Magny's just a Magny kind of guy. Instead of jumping on him as a dog, instead of putting my money into something that probably doesn't hit, and I can claim that there's value in it, I've made enough money on Magny as a dog. I'll just hit hit the fight to start round 2, and then maybe look at a live thing. If I see Prates like throwing some big shots and they're not landing, and he starts sucking wind, we're there. But Prates is pretty sniper-like. I think that's what's going to be the difference in this fight. He sort of measures his shots, and he comes in and he lands. Like, you see, he's definite with his knees. He's definite with his elbows. And he starts to swarm guys, and guys start to just back up. And I think Magny will back up, and he's going to get backed up against the fence and finish. I just hope it goes to round 2. So I might rebuild that a little bit with the Mullins one, just because there may not be value in the minus 800. And I'll redo that while you're talking quickly, and then throw out another adjustment to the parlay. But if you want, bring your second spot to the table, or your third spot to the table.
Yeah, it's funny enough. You probably thought I was going to say that Prates was the scary one there, right? But I actually think that Mullins could possibly sub her in one, like the Daria versus Eileen fight. But we'll see. My third spot, man, I haven't really put much thought into it. A little bit short notice, but I like Gomes here, man. Like, I know it's super chalky, but I really don't see where Carolina holds it at. Like, how does she win this fight, right? To me, I don't think she does. And they're putting KO at plus 300. Like, they're really saying Gomes got a shot to KO her, and I think she does. She's the way younger fighter. I think she's super good. I think she throws with malicious. Like, she just throws with pure intention to hurt you. And the fact of the matter is, some of these other girls that she wasn't able to put away had wrestling to back up on. Carolina ain't going to be able to take her down. So now you're forced 15 minutes on the feet at 39 years old with Denise Gomez. I was there when she got submitted by Jessica Panay, who I'm super low on, especially after the last fight. I mean, obviously she's a lot older now, but so is Carolina, man. Coming up against a girl that I think the UFC is trying to push. To me, this is a big spot. Sure, it could be the club and sub. Like, I don't really see it. She had opportunities in the last fight versus Mora when she was super gassed. But I think the way they're just shading this KO prop, maybe you take the ITD. I would say she probably gets it done inside the distance. Now, I know I just took 3 women to get the job done via finish in 2024. Probably not the best idea, but I think you throw your money on, those props.
I disagree. A lot of people say they can't figure out women's MMA. I find it to be a little bit more, it's going to go to decision. If you feel sketchy about the fight, you play the over prop. But then if you find a dialed line, usually it happens. Like, it's very finite with women's MMA, in my opinion.
plus 300 on Gomes KO. I love it. I think you want to be safe with the sub. Maybe take the ITD. I think that's it. You got a minus 500 down here. Just because, dude, like I said, I don't think she's going to be able to grapple with Gomes here. And once it's on the feet, what does she really have for her, man? Like, let's just be real. She's way slower. She doesn't hold the power. She's going to be getting bonked. That's it for me. Like, it's very basic. It's very, finite analysis, I guess we want to say. I think it's just
they talked about on the Darson. They were seeing the value in Carolina. Like, the age does worry me. And although I love Deanna Belbita, she's more of a volume striker versus, an impactful striker. And I think that Carolina probably won't wear the damage well. But I will look at it live just because I have seen Gomes, like, her power start to falter and then her volume falters. And then, so we'll see. But I think, like, looking at it maybe live for Carolina by volume, maybe if it goes to a sketchy decision. But I think the most likelihood is actually looking at the value on the plus 300 prop. I think there's a value on that KO, her finishing her up once even against the cage again. But I mean, you can attack it both ways and hedge yourself out with a live prop where, I mean, Gomes, I was saying this online or on the Dars was that, Gomes could have a huge big round. If she does gas herself out, then you have an opportunity there. If not, then, a KO likely coming. So I could see both value on both sides. But I mean, the biggest thing for me, and I think for you probably is, 39 years old, eventually there's just going to be that fight that I'm retiring. I'm pretty much done. Or that last sequence of a couple fights where it's just like you're going through the motions type thing.
Gomes will give her that door. That's all I'm going to say. She will give her that door. And we'll see.
Boom. Comes in with the line. Love it. Okay, I'm going to come in with more of a fade. And this one is more of an adjustment play because I did have something else. But because we're putting this out late in the week, I can't really put out something that I had early in the week that hasn't been out. I didn't put anything out online. Can't claim it as mine, even though I bet it. I got to put it out properly. So I'm going to be putting out value on maybe low-level MMA. But I just don't believe in Trayshawn Gore. I don't believe in him at all. I don't believe in his striking. I think he's too muscular. And unless he comes in after being off for a while and is leaned out, I think he's going to gas both like with his actual cardio and then also with his muscle just going to gas him out huge. He's going to be heavy late in fights and most fights. And I just think Chicoli's shown enough in his striking that he can land and he can land some big shots and have some moments in fights, even though I know he is still a little bit lower level and he had to go away and come back and we're here again. But I just don't believe in Trayshawn Gore. That's what this mostly is. It's lower level MMA to me. And plus 145 right now on Chicoli. I just like the spot. Maybe it's more of a fade. Maybe it's more of a hate spot, and I'll throw it out there to you. I just really like Trayshawn just doesn't put it together well. Like, although he can have hands at moments, again, he has power behind them. It's in close, and it's when he just gets in his own way. He can't draw the wrestling together to the striking. Maybe these vast improvements happen. He is younger. I could eat my shit on this one. But I'm just going to go with the value on the dog. I'm just going to take a shot at it. It's going to be a little sprinkle, probably just like I might throw a unit on him. But for me, we'll go with Chicoli on this one.
Yeah, a lot of outside noise on this fight, which I just don't really handicap. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, why are we even talking about this stuff out? Sometimes it matters, right? But like, he beat up some guy outside that. Dude, I don't care. He's still fighting. Clearly he's here for a reason. Not one of my strongest spots in the week, but there's just way too many question marks on Trayshawn Gore to play him at chalk here. It's simple as that. Chicoli has grappling upside, in my opinion, if he wants it. I don't know how well he's going to sustain that over 15, but Trayshawn Gore, there's just way too many questions on him. I do like that he's at the MMA lab. I think that's something I will take note of. It's a possible good move, but 2 years off, or how long has he been out? 2 years? And you're going to...
Yeah, it's about 2 years, which, I mean, like I said, he's younger, so the vast improvements could be there. Right. It's just physicality, the way he is. I've never really seen anything good come from that with most guys. Like, it doesn't translate well to MMA. Like, few guys have been that big and that muscular and really made it to the top of the top and been valuable. So for me, it's just a huge fade spot. I think Chicoli's going to be able to land some bigger shots in the bigger moments if it goes to decision. I even think he could get him out of there. Once again, like I said, it's more of a value spot for me. Just looking at the line, it just felt like, it's a dog or pass situation for me. It's a bankroll management week for me as well, too. So it's just like little sprinkle on the dog. I'll put my money in on Jillian because it's ROI for me anyways. That's how I'm going to approach her. And then with that over parlay, I could probably hammer that pretty hard. I'm probably going to put 2 to 3 units on that one because I just think that I know that we're going to change out Mullins, and I'm down for that after you bring in what you brought to the table, just for the value purposes. What do you think we could add in that spot? What do we got here? I'm trying to look.
Yeah, I'll think about it. Yeah, I like the. Yeah, I'm not gonna play Gore at chalk, like I said, because I'm not gonna pay for what I don't know. So I agree with you there, man, on that one. But I do like the guy. He's very nice. He's answered some of my DMs before, so he's a super nice guy. He, clearly believes he could still be a champion. The guy's got a strong belief system. He's a super nice guy. So I'll be, rooting for Tresean Gore, but value, I don't know. I'd probably pass for me.
It's the answer to what you're saying. Just like what you were saying before. The answer that you gave was just that there is too many holes. There's too many questions. So when you have too many questions, and I'm going to get around plus 150, I'll take a shot.
This could be risky. What's the fight starts round 2 for Jillian versus Luana?
Yeah, I was looking at the Gomes, but you think Gomes, if she's going to do it, would be early, likely.
I think she might knock her out in the first.
Yeah.
Like, she's going to come forward. And
when have you ever thought that you would look at 3 women's MMA fights and think, fight to start round 2, which one are we going to go with? But it really is about the value. It's like, right. If it's minus 800 and you think that the sub could happen in the first round because they're dry and there's no sweat, a quick submission, which has happened, I can see it. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
it might be something that I post for after, where I'll take a look and really see where there's value. It may not be a women's MMA fight, where I'm going to build a 2-piece. The fights will start round 2. Protest will be 1, and then I'll figure out what it is and I'll post it in my reel as well too. But for you,
I like it. I like it. I think there could be some sneaky value on it. I do.
Okay, and then if we look at, we've brought all of our spots to the table. What is left is this. Have I brought my third spot? Yeah, I brought my third spot to the table. We're good to go. What is left is this. The parlay. We got to build a quick parlay. So you and I have got to find value in 2 pieces. Sure, we can hit over under, but let's see if we can just take a look at 2 spots where we feel sharp enough on the spots, even if it's not too chalk. It could even be a pick 'em, whatever it might be, which there's not too many of those. Let's build a parlay today. What do you got?
All right, man. Tough card. Like, I think it's pretty volatile, but I'll go with the fight doesn't go the distance in Jillian Robertson versus Luana Pinheiro.
So fight doesn't go the distance, and I'll be building this as you're talking about that. And what do you think? She drags her into maybe late second round or something on that one?
Like if Pinheiro doesn't finish her in the first, like I genuinely just think that she gets finished in round 2 or 3. Very basic breakdown. 200
right now, which is a pretty good valuable parlay piece.
It's chalked to like minus 200, I think, but like that's telling to me, and it probably should be minus 400.
And then I'm just trying to see a spot that we could just sort of add with that at minus 200, bring some value to the table here. You know what? Maybe I just steal my spot from my fight to start round 2. That's what I'm going to do. And then I'll build something else for my picks after. We're going to go with Prates Magny, fight to start round 2 at minus 190. I think that has huge value. Because Robertson, inside the distance, it's going to adjust probably how I play. I might not even have to hit rounds 2 and 3 then. Although if the value is there, I'll hit it. But with this, it has you sort of covered.
Has Prates ever he's gotten round 1 knockouts before, right? Or
he has. I think it's just more about just giving Magny the respect, right? If we're going to give him a little bit of respect, I think he makes it at round 1. I don't know if Prates is going to go in there with a smoke in his mouth and make a point. Do you think he tries to make a point?
I just don't know if Magny can hang, bro. And might not be in round 1, but I just think when Prates does land, I think it's going to be Newport short, baby. And that's it. Like
Newport short. All right. You know what? So it does have an element of risk, but we're going to go with it. We're going to take it. This is going to be the parlay for us.
All bets in her at risk, right? Like at the end of the day, like with
plus 124. So plus 124. A fight needs to go to round 2. Main events traditionally have been going over. There's not too many that have even been finishing inside the distance. That's the first thing. And then second thing is Jillian Robertson likes to finish women, and Pinheiro likes to get finished. So I don't know. It seems like a pretty solid parlay to me. So fight to start round 2 in the main event, and then Jillian Robertson to get the job done. But we'll just call fight that doesn't go the distance in that fight, and it'll be plus 124 for the parlay for Donttap. Love it.
Thanks for having me on, bro. I appreciate it. Nice.
MMA
And,
Line Mover, it's been an absolute pleasure. Where can we find you? I know that you're synonymous in MMA Twitter. Everybody knows about you, but hey, let's go.
yeah, you can find me also on Instagram as well at MMA Line Mover. I appreciate it if you give me a follow there as well. And then if you want to click the link in the bio, what I've been doing is giving away these long shot parlay bets where I mix, some of the rounds. And I give some more analysis on some of these props that I like to bet. Women's MMA, man, with the grappling, this is a spot for me, man. So if I'm not able to make money on this card, it is what it is. But I think it'll be genuinely a lot of favorites. But I do think there's some sneaky dog spots. I think we may have talked about one. And I think that this is a good card to make some money on.
Definitely, guys. You got to give them a follow at minimum. And then, honestly, there's a lot of cappers that I've got to know over the past couple of years. And you sort of have to find the capper that works best for you. I know that sounds funny. You like the winning capper. Well, yeah, everybody's a winning capper at moments. They have ups and downs and ins and outs. But the reality is you want a sharp capper who can actually measure wins over time. You got the guy right here. So if you want to check him out, MMA Line Mover on Instagram, Jewish Better on Twitter. I believe that's still the handle, right? You haven't changed that there?
Both of them are at MMA Line Mover.
Okay, gotcha.
Line Mover.
Gotcha. All right, man. Donttap Podcast. We are out.
I'm Gentleman Josh Hill.
I'm Aaron Jeffries.
I'm Johnson Jazz busiest.
I'm Mike Malott.
I'm Ruffian Stop. Tune into
Don't tap.
Donttap
Donttap Podcast.
Donttap.
Podcast.
John Jones.
Follow me on Twitter.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.